When you openly share your weaknesses with the wrong people, you put yourself in a vulnerable position without even realizing it. Weakness is not just about flaws or mistakes. It's about the points in your life where you're most easily affected, the areas of your personality, habits, or emotions that can be manipulated. Imagine telling someone that you struggle with confidence, that you doubt yourself when faced with a challenge, or that you get easily discouraged when someone criticizes you. To a person with good intentions, that may seem harmless. But to the wrong person, it's a roadmap to controlling you. They now know exactly where to press, exactly what to say, exactly how to break you down when they need to. This is why protecting your weaknesses isn't about pretending you're perfect. It's about recognizing that not everyone needs access to the deepest parts of who you are. Think about how easy it is for people to exploit others once they have the knowledge of where they fall short. If someone knows you can't handle rejection, they can threaten to withdraw support just to keep you in line. If they know you fear being alone, they can use that to make you tolerate things you should never accept. Weaknesses are part of being human, but once exposed to the wrong eyes, they can transform into shackles. The strongest people aren't those who don't have weaknesses. They're those who manage them privately, who turn them into strengths silently without broadcasting them to the world. It's like playing a game of chess. You don't show your opponent where your pieces are most exposed. You protect them, you build around them, and you move strategically. Keeping your weaknesses to yourself doesn't mean ignoring them. It means working on them quietly, in spaces where you're safe, with people you truly trust, and even then, with caution. Because trust is fragile, and not everyone you call a friend today will stand by you tomorrow. Life changes, relationships shift, and sometimes the very people you confide in can become the ones who use that knowledge against you. So instead of handing out the keys to your insecurities, keep them close. Channel your energy into strengthening those areas without announcing it. Let the transformation speak for itself when the time comes. There's also a psychological element to this. When you constantly share your struggles out loud, you reinforce them in your own mind. You identify with them, you give them more power over you, and you start believing that they define you. But when you hold them privately and work on them in silence, you allow space for growth. You detach your identity from those weaknesses and gradually reshape them into lessons, resilience, and strength. No one else needs to know the battles you fight inside. What they should see is the strength you've built as a result. And let's not forget, people are not always what they seem. Sometimes the individuals who appear kind and supportive are only collecting information. They listen carefully, they nod, they seem empathetic, but what they're really doing is gathering data that they can one day use against you. They may not even do it maliciously at first. It might be subtle, a careless comment repeated to the wrong person, or a weakness revealed in a heated moment. Suddenly, your private struggle becomes public knowledge, and you can't take it back. That's the risk you run every time you share too much too soon. This is why mastering self-control is essential. Self-control over your words, over what you reveal, over who gets access to your inner vulnerabilities. It doesn't mean shutting people out or living with walls around you. It means learning the balance of openness and protection, of trust and caution. It means knowing that while everyone has weaknesses, not everyone has the right to know yours. Because the moment you hand over that secret, you hand over a piece of your power. And once your power is in someone else's hands, getting it back isn't easy when you share your next move before it's solid. You expose yourself to forces that can delay, discourage, or even destroy what you're working toward. There's an undeniable excitement in talking about your future plans, in telling people the big vision you've been holding inside. It feels empowering for a moment, almost as though by saying it out loud, you're bringing it to life. But in reality, every time you announce your next move prematurely, You invite opinions, doubts, and interference that can weigh down the very thing you're trying to build. Some people will question you, not because they want to help, but because your ambition highlights what they haven't done. Others may discourage you, pointing out obstacles that you hadn't even considered, planting seeds of doubt that grow in your mind. And there are those who may even intentionally stand in your way, because your progress threatens their sense of control or security. The truth is, the more you talk about what you're going to do, the less energy you often put into actually doing it. The brain feels rewarded just by announcing your intentions, as though the work has already been accomplished. It's a psychological trap. You get the satisfaction of acknowledgement without the discipline of execution. That's why so many people remain in the cycle of "I'm going to start this, I'm about to launch that," without ever following through. Silence, on the other hand, keeps the fire alive inside you. It forces you to direct your energy inward, toward action, rather than outward, toward validation. Keeping your next move private doesn't mean you can't dream big or plan thoroughly. It means you give yourself the freedom to work in peace, without the noise of outside voices. Imagine constructing a house. If you invite people to critique every single step before the walls are even up, you'll be bombarded with opinions about the design, the color, the structure, most of which will do nothing but slow you down. But if you keep building quietly, brick by brick, by the time others see it, the foundation is already solid and the house is standing strong. That's the power of silence. It lets you finish your creation before anyone else has the chance to shape it for you. Another danger in revealing your next move too soon is that not everyone is rooting for you. Some people smile while secretly hoping you fail, because your success would highlight their lack of progress. They won't encourage you, they'll plant doubts, throw subtle criticisms, or remind you of past failures. Others may try to imitate you or even steal your ideas, taking advantage of the fact that you laid out your vision before securing it. Protecting your plans protects your originality, your hard work, and your momentum. Once you've accomplished it, no one can take away what's already done. There's also a profound confidence that comes from letting your results speak for themselves. When you walk into a room having already achieved what others didn't even know you were working on, you command respect without ever asking for it. People are stunned by results, not by promises. Announcing your next move earns you attention for a moment, but delivering it without warning earns you lasting impact. It's the difference between someone who talks about climbing the mountain and someone who quietly climbs it, then appears at the top while everyone else is still wondering how they got there. Protecting your next move is about discipline and foresight. It's about choosing patience over praise, action over approval. It's about understanding that every time you tell the world what you're going to do, you open the door to influence, resistance, and unnecessary pressure. When you stay silent, you stay free. You're not performing for an audience. You're not seeking permission. You're moving with intention, and the world only sees it once it's undeniable. Your private life is the part of you that should never be given away carelessly, because once it's out there, you can never take it back. We live in a culture where people feel almost obligated to share everything, what they're doing, who they're with, where they're going, what they're eating. It might seem harmless at first, just a way to connect or feel included, but the truth is, the more you expose about your private life, the more vulnerable you become to judgment, manipulation, and even danger. There is strength in maintaining a sacred space, a part of your life that belongs only to you and the people you trust the most. It creates boundaries, and those boundaries protect not only your peace, but also your relationships. When too many people know the details of your personal world, they start to form opinions about it. They comment, they compare, they criticize, often without knowing the full story. What begins as a simple post or a casual confession can spiral into gossip, assumptions, or even resentment. You may think you're just sharing a piece of your day, but others are collecting information, piecing together a version of your life that they believe is true. That version may not be accurate, but once it circulates, you lose control of your narrative. Protecting your private life ensures that your story remains yours to tell, not someone else's to interpret. Privacy also creates intimacy. The moments you choose to keep to yourself or share only with a select few become more valuable, more meaningful. Not everyone needs to know the struggles in your marriage, the details of your finances, or the challenges you face at home. The people who truly care about you don't need constant updates to prove their connection. And the people who demand constant access to your private life are often the ones who will misuse that information later. By keeping your private world guarded, you preserve the trust and closeness with those who matter most, instead of spreading your personal truth across an audience that hasn't earned the right to it. There's also a level of safety involved in maintaining privacy. When people know where you live, where you're going, or who you're with, they can track your movements, intrude on your space, or even exploit that information for their own gain. Many people underestimate how dangerous oversharing can be until it's too late. Something as simple as posting your location can alert the wrong person to where you are. Something as small as revealing your personal routines can give someone an edge over you. Privacy is not secrecy, it's security. It's about being wise enough to understand that your life is precious and not everyone deserves access to it. Another reason to guard your private life is that it gives you freedom. When you stop broadcasting everything, you're no longer bound to the expectations or judgments of others. You can live, make mistakes, grow, and change without feeling like you're on display. You don't owe explanations for every decision or every turn you take. You don't have to justify why you chose a certain path or why you're connected with certain people. When your private life is truly yours, you reclaim control over how you live, free from the pressure of outside opinions. And perhaps the most powerful part of keeping your private life private is the sense of peace it gives you. There's calm in knowing that the most personal parts of who you are safe, untouched, and protected from the noise of the outside world. Peace doesn't come from exposing everything. It comes from preserving what matters most in silence, where it cannot be tampered with, misunderstood, or stolen. Silence is one of the most underestimated forms of strength. People often believe that power is shown in speaking loudly, in telling everyone what you think, in sharing every detail of your life or your plans. But the truth is, real power is knowing when not to speak, when to hold back, when to keep something for yourself. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It means control. It means you are the one choosing what information leaves your mouth and what stays inside. It's the discipline to resist the urge of validation and the maturity to understand that not every thought or feeling needs to be broadcast. When you master silence, you stop giving others the opportunity to interfere, to misinterpret, or to use your words against you. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world, because not everyone has good intentions. Some people listen only to collect information, not to support you. They smile, they nod, they appear interested, but deep down they are cataloging everything you reveal, waiting for a moment to use it when it benefits them. By keeping silent, you take away their weapon. You don't give them the ammunition they're looking for. Instead, they're left guessing, and that guessing creates strength for you. People cannot attack what they do not know, and they cannot sabotage a plan they've never heard. Silence gives you the advantage of mystery. There is also power in silence because it allows you to observe more clearly. When you are not speaking, you're listening. You're noticing what others are revealing, how they behave, where their motives lie. While others rush to expose themselves through endless talking, you stay quiet, analyzing, learning, absorbing. That knowledge gives you leverage. It allows you to make decisions based on observation rather than assumptions. In silence, you see the truth of people, because when you're not competing to be heard, you notice the details that others overlook. Silence also protects your energy. Every time you explain yourself, defend yourself, or share your intentions, you give away a piece of that energy. Over time, this leaves you drained and distracted. But when you stay silent, when you hold your words close, you conserve your strength for what actually matters. The work, the growth, the actions that speak louder than anything you could say. People may wonder why you're so quiet, why you don't reveal much, and that wonder becomes a shield. They can't pin you down, they can't predict you, they can't control you, because you're not handing them the map. And let's not ignore the fact that silence frustrates those who thrive on control. There are people who need to know everything about you to feel secure. They push for answers, for details, for explanations, because your silence makes them uncomfortable. That discomfort is power in itself, because it means they cannot reach you. They cannot force their way into your private world unless you open the door. When you remain silent, you are essentially saying, "You don't get to own this part of me." That boundary is unshakable, and it keeps you in command of yourself. Silence is power because it teaches patience. It teaches you to sit with your own thoughts, to refine your ideas, to process your emotions before reacting. Most damage in life comes from speaking too soon, revealing too much, or reacting without thought. Silence eliminates that risk. It creates space for clarity, for strategy, for control. It allows you to move deliberately instead of impulsively. And when you finally choose to speak, your words carry more weight because they are rare, intentional, and backed by discipline rather than impulse. People respect a voice that doesn't always need to be heard, because when it does speak, it commands attention. Oversharing is one of the easiest ways to invite unnecessary problems into your life, because the moment you give people too much access to your thoughts, your plans, or your struggles, you open the door for them to influence you in ways you never asked for. It often starts innocently. You tell someone about your new idea, your personal struggle, or the goals you're working toward, and you expect encouragement. Instead, you're met with doubt, criticism, or even silent envy. Suddenly, what felt exciting and personal becomes heavy, because you've given other people the chance to shape how you see yourself and your path. Oversharing doesn't just expose your life, it hands over control of your confidence to the opinions of others. Every time you share something too soon or with the wrong person, you give them the opportunity to sabotage it, whether intentionally or not. Sabotage doesn't always look obvious. It can be subtle: a discouraging comment, a raised eyebrow, or a reminder of your past failures. These little responses plant seeds of doubt in your mind, making you second-guess yourself. Doubt is powerful, and it can stall your progress before you even begin. Oversharing creates the perfect space for this doubt to grow, because it allows people who don't share your vision to weigh in on a plan they were never meant to be part of. There's also the problem of jealousy. Not everyone who listens to your story or your goals is rooting for you. Some people see your ambition as a threat to their own comfort, because your progress highlights where they've fallen short. Instead of celebrating you, they quietly hope you fail. When you overshare with people like this, you give them an advantage. They now know what you're aiming for, and they can place obstacles in your way, whether that's by speaking negatively about you to others, trying to copy your ideas, or directly interfering with your opportunities. Jealousy doesn't need much fuel, and oversharing is exactly what ignites it. Oversharing can also blur your sense of self. The more you tell people about your personal struggles, the more they begin to define you by those struggles. You might confide about your financial difficulties, your fears, or your insecurities, hoping for empathy. But what often happens is that people begin to see you only through that lens, and in time, you start to see yourself that way too. Instead of identifying with your strengths or your potential, you keep reinforcing your weaknesses by talking about them over and over. Privacy, on the other hand, allows you to heal, grow, and overcome without having to defend or explain yourself at every step. Another hidden danger of oversharing is that people rarely forget what you tell them. They may not use it against you right away, but the information lingers. In a heated moment, in a conflict, or when their loyalty shifts, those private details can resurface, and suddenly what you once shared in confidence becomes a weapon. Oversharing today can cost you tomorrow, because once your secrets are out, they no longer belong to you. They belong to the memory of the person you told, and you have no control over when or how they might reveal it. Learning not to overshare isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's about learning the difference between openness and exposure. Openness allows you to connect with people in meaningful ways while still protecting your inner world. Exposure, on the other hand, strips you of boundaries and leaves you at the mercy of whatever reaction your words receive. Not everyone has earned the right to hear your struggles, your dreams, or your private details. The fewer people who know, the fewer opportunities there are for sabotage, doubt, or misuse of your truth. Protecting yourself from oversharing is an act of self-respect, a conscious choice to value your peace and your progress over the temporary relief of telling everything. True strength has very little to do with how much you show the world, and everything to do with how much you choose not to reveal. Society often glorifies the person who speaks the loudest, who shares every detail of their journey, who constantly broadcasts their opinions and struggles as though exposure equals courage. But real strength lies in restraint. It's in the ability to remain composed when provoked, to stay silent when others are fishing for answers, to protect the parts of yourself that are too valuable to hand over carelessly. Knowing what not to reveal requires discipline, wisdom, and confidence in yourself, because it means you are no longer dependent on external validation or approval to define who you are. When you withhold certain truths, you maintain power over them. The moment you share everything, you lose ownership of it. Your secrets, your struggles, your next moves, once they leave your lips, they belong to whoever heard them, and you can't control how they'll use that information. They may guard it carefully, or they may spread it carelessly. They may support you with it, or they may weaponize it against you. By choosing not to reveal, you ensure that your most personal truths remain yours alone. That ownership is strength, because it means your peace, your growth, and your direction are not subject to anyone else's influence. Resisting the urge to reveal everything also builds inner resilience. Many people overshare because they crave reassurance. They want someone to tell them they're on the right path, that their feelings are valid, that their dreams are possible. But depending on others for that reassurance weakens you, because it makes your confidence conditional on their response. If they support you, you feel strong. If they doubt you, you collapse. True strength comes from not needing their input at all. It comes from keeping your vision close to your chest, nurturing it privately, and proving yourself through action rather than seeking validation through words. There's also a deep respect that comes from being the kind of person who doesn't reveal too much. People pay closer attention to someone who speaks selectively. When every thought, every plan, every emotion is shared freely, your words lose value. But when you hold back, when you only reveal what is necessary, your words carry weight. They become rare, intentional, and impactful. The world respects restraint because it signals control, and control is always associated with strength. The quiet individual who reveals little often commands more attention than the one who constantly talks. Another layer of strength in not revealing everything is that it keeps you unpredictable. Predictability makes you easy to control because people can anticipate your reactions, your moves, your weaknesses. But when you protect what you know, what you feel, and what you intend, you keep others guessing. That unpredictability is a shield. It prevents manipulation, it preserves your freedom, and it forces others to respect the boundary they cannot cross. They may speculate, but speculation is powerless compared to certainty. As long as you keep parts of yourself private, you maintain an advantage. It's also important to understand that strength is not about proving yourself to the world. The constant need to reveal everything is often rooted in insecurity, in the desire to be understood, accepted, or admired. But the strongest people are secure in the fact that they don't need to prove anything to anyone. They know who they are, they know what they're capable of, and they don't need the spotlight to validate it. By not revealing, they preserve their dignity, their peace, and their control. They let their results, their presence, and their consistency speak on their behalf, rather than empty declarations or constant explanations. Knowing what not to reveal is a lifelong skill, because temptations to expose yourself are everywhere. Social media rewards oversharing. Peer pressure encourages you to spill your secrets. Even close relationships sometimes test your boundaries. But strength is saying, "This part of me belongs only to me." It's understanding that privacy is not secrecy, it's sovereignty. It's the deliberate choice to remain the author of your own story, instead of giving the pen to anyone who asks for it in a world that constantly pressures us to share, to post, to announce, and to explain ourselves. The greatest power we hold is in what we choose to keep to ourselves. Protecting your weaknesses, your next moves, and your private life is not about living in fear or building walls. It's about recognizing the value of your peace, your energy, and your future. Every time you guard those parts of yourself, you reclaim control. You prevent others from using your vulnerabilities against you. You allow your actions to speak louder than promises, and you preserve a sacred space that belongs only to you. Silence becomes your strength, privacy becomes your armor, and restraint becomes your freedom. The truth is, people cannot sabotage what they don't know. They cannot discourage what they cannot see, and they cannot destroy what you never handed them in the first place. The world may try to convince you that openness equals connection, but in reality, selective sharing is wisdom. The strongest people are not those who reveal everything, but those who understand that power is built in silence, trust is earned carefully, and true freedom comes from knowing exactly what not to share.